The Sumter National Forest is over 370,000 acres in totality. Further, it's home to the South Carolina Adventure Routes Triple between Greenwood and Edgefield. Knowing this, we had to make a trip out there. The weatherman lied as always, and the weather looked poor. This had the dog rather upset, but I was still packed up for our trip. Further, I made sure to take excellent care of all my equipment, and of course I took the dog outside for a quick walk before she eagerly hopped in knowing we had a trip underway. She's such a good girl, isn't she? What a cutie. Starting the full lineup here with the axe is Tauntaun. There we have our friend, Adam, and of course, good old boy, Blake. Then from there we did the usual routine of filling up before we went, and then we hit the road. Now, for anyone watching, here are the timestamps. Please take note and skip around to wherever you like. We don't take any offense to it if you want to rush to the ending. Here is the actual SCAR map that we've been utilizing lately to plan out our route. Further, as we go into the map and travel downward, you'll see the actual Carolina Triple that we're talking about for the Midlands, also known as the SCAR Midlands Triple. These three locations, located between Greenwood and Edgefield, are our primary targets for the day. Further, we'd be staying just outside of Greenwood, South Carolina, thanks to our friends at Hip Camp, so we could get as close as possible at still an affordable rate to go and camp and travel. Our campsite was the Pheonix Meadows campsite, which was located on 77 acres of farm all the way in Greenwood, South Carolina. It was actually a really beautiful place, but you'll also find it extremely remote. Some parties may not like this for an option, but we found it to be one of our best stays yet, all in all. We did find the grass fields fun to drive through, though embarrassingly, I must admit that at one point we got lost. See us running into the other column there? All good. So it's really great to be here, and having arrived, it's a beautiful location. The field is amazing. There's just one problem, we're currently lost, so come along with us as we actually try to find the campsite. Let us make all the mistakes for you ahead of time. Mistakes made indeed. It didn't take long to walk through the woods where we had parked and actually find that the campsite was right beneath our noses. And what a campsite it really was. With a picnic table and fire site, further, with over 77 acres to walk around and camp in, we find this a really beautiful place to stay. Adding to the ambiance would be the native birds, the running water, and the totality of nature surrounding you. From there, we went ahead and brought the jeeps down and began the slow process of unpacking. You see, we didn't stay lost forever. That's good. Mostly. Setting up camp was relatively easy, and of course we all looked forward to it. There was more than enough space for 4 tents out here. Further, the environment itself allowed for a great deal of privacy. This here you can see me setting up the tent in real time. As always, it was nice to have all of camp set up with the boys again, because I knew that from there we could get to the more fun activities. Adam decided to begin his day with some arts and crafts by cutting down a bamboo tree.
Just a spear.
Just a spear, he says. Sadly, poor Tauntaun injured himself on just a spear. Can you tell me what happened, please?
Cut my hand. There's a liability out here in these woods.
Yeah. And Blake, what are your qualifications to bandage this hand?
I watched a YouTube video last week, and this is what they did. There you go.
The dog had also managed to get herself stuck in the bamboo forest, but I set her free. Mission accomplished. The dog soon had her revenge, of course. And because of that, I gave her a little water to cool off. After this, we decided to tackle more conventional dead trees. You feel like a man now?
Just like that.
And don't think me lazy. I did my part for firewood too. It's time for the Toilet Talk! Now when it comes to today's segment on Toilet Tech Talk, we'd like to say that nature always provides the finest facilities. But be sure, in this instance, to bring along a trowel and the toiletry bag. Now, with these wonderful innovations in technology, let me show you how it's done. And thus concludes our Toilet Talk! With 77 acres at our disposal, Tauntaun and I decided it was time to explore the native wildlife. Walking through, you'll see many of the basics such as pine and oak, as well as the more interesting cinnamon fern, though be warned it does not taste like cinnamon. Further, when crossing a log bridge, please be careful. In this case, the sides were strong and sturdy, but the center was rotten. Still, we made it across a-okay and we kept climbing uphill. Although bamboo had seemed to be the bane of our existence initially, it actually freshened up the air and was worth exploring. That noted, it started to get dark and soon we had to make our way back to camp. By the time we returned to camp, Adam had already started a fire, and we were prepping for dinner at that point. It didn't take long for the sun to go down in entirety, so we started working in the dark a bit more. Adam did have the genius idea to use his side lights, and that helped us see through most of the night from there. For dinner, we enjoyed the camping classics. Those always hit home in the best ways. Even better, we had it in the budget to afford chili again, which was impressive. It eventually came time to collect water from the stream to boil. We were in this case gonna make beans. See how I stealthily step over that log? Sadly, Tauntaun the cameraman didn't do so well. And right here's the last thing he ever saw. Further, this brings Tauntaun's injury count up to 2 now. Poor guy can't catch a break. Fortunately, he did make it back to camp alive.
I'm glad I didn't just fall right there.
And yes, we were able to get the water boiling, which is good. Mission accomplished. I feel like it doesn't need to explain that the meal is good, but I'm going to take a bite to prove it. Yeah, it's still good. It was worth it. What do you think, Blake? Is it good?
It's very good. Very good.
And for dessert, we did get our beans in.
That is hot.
The dog also got to eat the gourmet life of beans and chili with us as well. From there, the fire slowly died, and we were lulled to sleep by the sound of the rolling water. I wondered why at night my tent had been vibrating. Well, it was due to a cicada molting. Freeloader. I also found the dog sleeping on top of my chest, so I never got cold, which I guess is a good thing too. The morning life was beautiful as always, with the refreshing air and sounds of nature all surrounding us. The dog also continued her crusade on bamboo. And I got started by creating the wonderful liquid we know as coffee. Right there you can see all my troubles just melting away. Ah. Blake was second out of his tent as he too wanted to participate in the goodness known as coffee.
That was some hot coffee.
Don't worry, I got my share of it too.
You might not believe it, but this is one of the most comfortable spots in all of nature.
From there, Adam arose, and then Tauntaun, who also made it through the night despite his injuries. At that point, it was time to collect wood.
Days like these, I wish I brought my axe.
Work like this is always strangely therapeutic, especially in the morning. Blake also joined in on the job, and he did such a good job, in fact, that soon I gave him full charge and decided to take on a more managerial position.
Say hi to the camera, Blake.
Hello.
From there, we started fire and then began the prep work for breakfast, which today was going to be an egg hash. Delicious. As always, Chef Adam was in charge, which is why we call him Chef. Good on ya, boy. It was a good breakfast.
Got to share this with the dog in a minute. You can hear her in the background.
From then on, Tauntaun and I went about our dish cleaning duties, and we also started a sing-along. Join in if you want. Well, after having a sing-along session, it was time to let the good days roll on, so we hitched up and we headed out. Starting off on our route, we'd be going near the Mount Caramel and Parsons Mountain area in order to begin the first section of the Triple. See it right there? No lies told, that is indeed Parsons Mountain Recreation Area, a part of Sumter National. From there, we hit the gravel roads, and it was mostly easygoing starting off. We made the first of many river and creek crossings, which was all good and fine. But that said, as you start to twist and wind your way through, about the time you hit the median of the first trail, you're gonna come up to one of the coolest bridges of all. See, right there, one-lane bridge sign? Well, rounding out the corner, you'll see what I'm talking about here. This here is the Long Cane Creek Bridge, originally constructed in 1932. Now, don't let its old age fool you. This is a sturdy old girl, solidly built and rusted in place, so it's going nowhere. This bridge was built as a replacement for the 1892 Long Cane Covered Bridge. And it's worth it to come out here and actually look at Long Cane Creek and just relax. Further, it's hard not to want to venture off the beaten path some. Further, Long Cane Creek is one of many creeks that eventually feed into the Savannah River and form the border between South Carolina and Georgia. Going back to the idea of wandering off the beaten path, it didn't take Tauntaun very long to try out and find the most ideal fishing location in all the South. Which I don't blame him, that's a smart move. I'm kinda jealous I didn't bring my fishing pole.
Not my stealthiest day. You've been fishing?
And for anyone who's concerned, don't worry, this old boy is fully licensed in the state of South Carolina to fish. Good on ya, boyo.
As you can see, thanks to Anthony's exploration, our namesake has been found to be out here, taking care of business in the wilderness.
As added note, you'll find this area, as all of South Carolina at this time of year, to be surrounded by cicadas. So when you hear the sound of what might be rushing water, it's actually 100,000 cicadas.
Something really neat to find when you're off the beaten trail here are these areas where pigs will come in and actually burrow in to cool off and relax. You can see where they've hoofed in and dug. That's a pretty nice find. Further out here, when you come along, you'll also notice all the deer tracks as well as their own game trails coming up and down the creek bed.
Picking up from that note, you can actually see the game trail right here, as deer and other animals cross the creek right at this point over to the other bank. Sadly, we couldn't stay here all day, and we went ahead and crossed the old rickety 1932 bridge and made our way over on the other side of the embankment to continue our journey. Though we do have one added note real quickly.
At this time, I'd like to thank the beloved Army Corps of Engineers for making this bridge possible. For anyone who thought this bridge wasn't sturdy enough or that they couldn't do it, you're an idiot.
After that point, we decided to continue straight on CCC Road, or Triple C Road. as this was going to take us to a pretty interesting and secluded area that we were hoping to find. That noted, it is a little bit off the beaten path, and you are going to find yourself quickly surrounded by vegetation. But I promise you, if you can get here, it's absolutely worth your time to pay a visit. We pulled up in pretty quickly, and we were very fortunate that the area was abandoned today. From there, we disembarked because it was time to enjoy the lunch hour. Taking a look here, again we find ourselves on a rather peninsula-shaped area. This particular site sits where the Long Cane Creek actually comes into contact with the Strom-Thurmond Reservoir. And, as always, our good friend Tauntaun couldn't resist going out to find some snappers. That said, this area is also ideal just to take some time to yourself and watch the beauty of the world reflect upon the water. It could never be overstated that I'm a sucker for puppy eyes, and the dog got a good half of my sandwich. I couldn't help it. Isn't she just a cutie? With lunch over, we made our way back through the thicket, and then made our way up towards the Normandee Road for the second section of the Scar Triple. On our way to the Normandee Road, we hit a second bridge, which was eerily reminiscent of the Long Cane 1932 bridge. In this case, this is the Iron Bridge, found on Iron Bridge Road. How interesting.
We'd like to say that regardless of what some people would think, it can indeed hold 2 tons.
After that lame joke, we took a right up here on Normandee Acres Road. And this, my friends, is where the fun begins. Again, on the map, dead center, Normandee Road. Again, today conditions were dry, but the great thing about this is that since the foliage is so deep, a lot of that's gonna go away, and there are plenty of preserved mud puddles waiting to be hit. So, have at it, gentlemen. And seeing the largest of the day, we took a moment for a slow-mo. Also, I need to apologize to the cameraman here for going a little too close. The further you move down this road, the deeper, darker, and more enclosed it's going to become. And soon you'll find yourself being thwacked by several bushes and trees. This is very dense foliage coming through. But that said, when the road opens up, it's fun to open up in return. We couldn't help but go for it.
There's a minor possibility that when you come out on the Normandee Road, you could get slightly dirty. But frankly, I enjoy my new brown chocolate paint job.
The final and third of the Midlands Triple is down here at Yarborough Road. It's easy enough to find. To the right is a church. Simply pass that and then take the right to Yarborough Road. See? Conveniently highlighted. Conditions here are similar to the other two, being red clay and relatively dusty. But you'll still find some waterways to pass. These are especially fun to hit when it's been raining heavy. But rounding the corner, we saw something we really didn't expect to see. Adam, with his keen eyes, actually stopped to notice a snake in the road, and this was a full-grown rattler. I'm happy I kept the dog in the car because she would have gone after him like rope.
So out here at Yarborough Road, our last circuit of the day, we're really fortunate that Adam had such a good eye because he spotted the rather elusive, for us at least, North American rattlesnake. That was a really cool find. And it's good because the poor little guy didn't get hurt and none of us got bit. So that's a win-win today as far as I'm concerned.
Please remember that timber rattlesnakes are a pit viper and therefore poisonous. But poison can't stop us from having fun, so we kept on driving and hit a few more mud holes along the way. Yarborough is nice as well because there are a few hills, twists, and corners to hit which change up the environment, and yes, you can go out there and gun it too. Further, there are some historical sites to see. If you're ever interested in seeing abandoned barns, they're right there on the side of the road. But that essentially wraps up what we did at Yarborough. From there, we had one last visit to make of a historical nature. Being so close, we stopped at the historic 96 site. This is a site from the American Revolution, though its history can be traced back even earlier. Remnants of the old village, stockade, and fort can all be seen here, either reconstructed or preserved and protected by archaeologists. Further, this is the home of the James Birmingham site, who is considered the first South Carolinian to be killed during the American Revolution. Here, on the original site, is a recreation of the stockade in part. Taking a surrounding look at the area, you can see the raised firing platforms, as well as where buildings used to be, and finally wrapping around the flagpole. Just for the sake of comparison, here I am on an elevated position.
Now, I've not gotten taller. The fact of the matter is I'm just standing on an elevated firing position.
Going into the furthest corner of the park, you'll see the remnants of the old siege works and Star Fort. Here you can actually see in the earth itself where the fort once stood, so please be careful where you step.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please remember to behave yourself at a national or state park. Otherwise, the long arm of justice will find you.
At the close of the day, we returned to our camp and started fire again, with Chef Adam at the helm, as always. It didn't take him long to get the fire going, and we all surrounded it to enjoy for a moment. Soon we put water on to boil because we were going to throw in the quick rice for another beautiful stir-fry dinner. Unfortunately, we didn't bring enough chopsticks.
We are in the effort to make homemade chopsticks tonight. We're halfway there.
Being a bit overzealous, I pulled out the big knife. Meanwhile, Blake went ahead and beat me and just pulled out the big stick. Chef Adam threw down the beef and stirred it, appetizing as always, and then he put a few eggs on to fry. And from there, we had ourselves a classic stir-fry delicacy. Oh, with homemade chopsticks.
I'd just like to say that it's a good meal. The homemade chopsticks worked out, and we've had ourselves a very good day. Everyone's happy here, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you.
With such sentimentality stated, the evening started to wind down slowly but surely. We might have snacked around and chatted some, but really, it came to the point to relax and hang around the fire and watch the light of the world come down once more. The car lights came on for a moment as we packed up, but slowly and surely, our trip was coming to an end as the fire died. So with all of this seen, what are our thoughts on the SCAR Midlands Triple?
Why, hello there, dear viewer. It's so wonderful to be out here with you in the Sumter Forest. We've had so much fun hiking, going about the different trails, off-roading, but now I really have to ask you, are you ready for the Eager Beaver Hour? We'd really like to thank our friends again at Hip Camp for making it possible to get a camping reservation out here. It's very difficult at this time of year in the spring and summer to actually get a reservation at the National or State Park. So it's great to be out here at Pheonix Meadows. All in all, this is a really beautiful facility to stay in. Now, it is very primitive, and we do advise certain safety precautions, but at the same time, if you come prepared, this is a wonderful place that's fun and affordable for you, your friends, and your family. As always on this channel, we like to preach and talk about safety. In this case, when Adam's keen eyes found the timber rattlesnake, it's really important to remember that you are not on your territory. In the wild, you're on their territory. If you do wish to protect yourself from the likes of a snake bite and attack, please remember to wear long pants, tall boots, and tall socks. Further, in case you're concerned about possible injury in the future, consider bringing along a snake bite kit just to better protect yourself in the future. As you can tell by my brand new paint job, we had incredible fun out here doing the Carolina Triple. That noted, we still advise you when you come out here to please consider bringing along a winch, a possible jack stand, as well as your recovery boards. We here at the Eager Beaver Crew had a great time doing the Carolina Triple. It's a ball to come out here from the full stretch all the way stretching from Aiken up into Mount Caramel, McCormick, and Greenwood. We really encourage you to come out here, especially if you're a beginner. This is a very easy place to traverse in dry conditions, but please keep in mind when it gets wet, it will be more slippy and you're liable to lose traction. That being said, a stock vehicle like our four-wheeler on the Jeep here, or even a Tacoma without a lift, would be able to easily do most any of these areas. So if you want to come out and try it, we encourage you to do so.
If you've stayed to the end of the video, dear viewer, then we thank you for coming along on this adventure. Further, if you enjoy our content, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel, and please leave comments below for questions or ideas in the future. As always, until next time, this is the Eager Beaver, signing off.